Hey guys, I'm Alec, and in this episode, which is really the first episode ever, I'm going to show you how to make your own custom Mandalorian armor out of scrap materials and tools that you probably already have at home.
Alright guys, so the materials that I used for this build were a scrap piece of a foam yoga mat for the armor, some paper for when we trace the patterns, a cutting board for when we cut the patterns from the foam, something to cut with, a ruler, a pen, some scissors, something to measure with, and of course, a laptop for references. So first, use your measuring tool to measure the length, the width, and the height of your chest area so as to determine the right size for your chest plate. This will help keep you from making your chest plate too big and too small for your body size. Trust me, it will help. Now I have determined that I will need a 12-inch by 6-inch chest plate. Now that I have my chest plate measurements, it's time to trace the patterns that I based off the certain references that I looked up online. I decided to go more with a Mandalorian Season 2, or by the end of Season 1 look, but also with my own type of look to it, you know? I decided to combine some aspects from other Mandalorian armors that I found online, such as Boba Fett's, where the diamond, instead of it being connected to the whole chest plate armor, it's separate. Please note that it may be hard to trace your pattern sometimes since you are truly kinda eyeballing it. I know I've decided to go with my own look, but if you guys are interested in using the same pattern that I used, they will be available in the video's description. So it looks like we're just about done with the chestplate armor. It's time to move on to the other side pieces. So now I'm going to use the chestplate pattern that I just made as a reference to trace the diamond piece found in the middle of the chestplate. It can be hard to get both sides to look the same, which is why I recommend flipping the paper and tracing the other half of the diamond on the other side, and then using that other side to trace it on the top of the paper that we were working on. After we finish tracing the diamond piece, we're going to use the same paper that we traced it on to trace some of the side armor that is found in many Mandalorian chestplates that I have decided to add to my pattern. Once the side armor is done, move on to the bottom of the chestplate. Please note that this part may be tricky, since paper isn't really 12 inches wide, but I did find a way to get around it. But I do recommend tracing the pattern and using the pattern to hopefully modify in the future so that it best fits your costume. Now that all patterns have been traced, it's time to cut them down. It's okay if you want to skip this part, since all I'm going to be doing is just cutting down the patterns. Once all patterns have been cut, it's now time to trace them on the foam. If you're wondering where to find foam like this, places like Walmart, Target, Five Below, etc. usually sell it for very low prices. But if you're still having trouble, I will drop a link on the video's description on where to find it on Amazon. So at first I cut the side armor tracing separate from the main chest armor tracing because I wanted to give the armor a cool angle with the use of beveling, but then I realized that with the budget that I'm on it would be hard to close all the seams once everything was glued down, which is why I connected both pieces together. So now that the patterns have been traced on the foam, make sure to put a cutting board below the foam so when you cut the foam down, the knife won't puncture through the foam and then damage whatever surface you're cutting the foam on top of. Also, if your armor has a lot of straight lines, make sure you use a ruler with a metal edge as a guide when cutting with your cutting tool. This will help give your armor cleaner cuts. Two things that I want to point out. When I listed the materials in the beginning of the video, I showed you the piece of foam that had already been cut, and this is due to me losing some of the previous footage that I had already filmed. Number two, I decided not to cut the bottom part of the chest armor on the thick piece of yoga mat foam because I thought it was going to give the armor a bulky look. which is not what I was going for. After all of your armor pieces have been cut, make sure to clean all of the extra material found in the edges. Alright guys, so it looks like we're just about done tracing and cutting our budget Mandalorian armor.
Hey guys! So now we just finished transferring our custom patterns onto the foam, and we have cut out the main chest plate and the diamond, which is really the trademark of all Mandalorian armors. Every single one has to have a diamond in the middle of the chest. Yep. And the reason why I didn't cut the bottom of the chest plate is mainly because I'm planning on transferring it to a thinner foam, so that way the chest doesn't look too bulky, you know? So it actually looks good while I'm wearing it. And yeah, well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the next one.